Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Not me. Not me. Even when I saw the starting 11, I was like, maybe they'll lose. But they'll still put up a good fight. Based off what I saw against Wydad Casablanca, based off what I saw against Al Ain, yes, weaker opposition, I get it. But at the end of the day, you're professional footballers. You do the basics on a consistent of basis, regardless of the opposition, regardless of the weather. Let me just get this off my chest because it never made sense to me, and now looking at the scoreline, it still doesn't make sense to me. I understand it partially, but it doesn't make sense to me. Juventus going into this game, they were neck and neck with Manchester City, 6 points for 6 points. The winner cements top spot, they get the easier game. Based off the bracket, the winner gets Al Hilal. Okay, with all due respect, you get Al Hilal. Whoever finishes second, most likely gets Real Madrid. Just like if I was the coach and I knew this and I knew how financially rewarding the Club World Cup is and how like this is an opportunity for me to still train my players, to still get to know them, like I would want to get as far as possible. I understand they've played 2 games, same starting 11 practically. I don't understand why Tudor rotated this team as heavily as he did, and trust me, I understand rotation. I understand it's tough conditions out there. I understand giving players a rest. I understand bringing in players and basically giving them the assignment. What can you do? Can you prove yourself? But where it's worrying for me is a game of this magnitude, a game knowing what's on the line, shouldn't be a game that you should take a gamble. If anything, like this might sound crazy, go full strength against Manchester City, win the game against Al Hilal, with all due respect, once again, you can afford to take your foot off the gas in that game. Because I feel like even in that game, well, it's crazy. But based on what I just saw of some of those players, they probably still would have gone on to lose against Al Hilal if Tudor rotated. The problem is there's no squad depth in this team. There isn't. Yes, when you look at it when you look at the team online, you see players like Dusan Vlahovic on the bench, Nico Gonzalez on the bench, Coop Miners on the bench. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. And I feel like today, some of them had catastrophic performances. I feel like some of them really looked at Tudor in the face and spat in his face, in my opinion. Some of these players, like for example, let's just start with the elephant in the room. Yeah, he doesn't really play like an elephant on the pitch. He plays like a little mouse. He's just getting thrown around all over the place. Dusan Vlahovic, lovely goal, but it's not enough. And this is why sometimes goals aren't the be-all and end-all. Anybody that sat down and watched that game could turn around and tell you, even if Vlahovic scored a hat-trick in the last 5 minutes, it wouldn't erase what our 2 eyes saw. I'll be honest with you guys, like in terms of getting opportunities in the final third, it was a game where Manchester City practically had, 75-80% of the ball. As a striker, you're isolated. And I sympathised with him. I tried to be as fair as possible. I sympathised. I was like, listen, you're not really getting the ball. But where he, like, what's the best word to put it? How can I emphasise it for you guys? Where he disgusted me. Yeah, that's the best word I can put. Where he disgusted me the most was his effort off the ball. And I'll be honest with you guys, you have to bear in mind, I'm now programmed into watching Conceição, Yildiz, Kolo Muani. They press, 2 ram steps forward, McKennie joins in. I've been programmed to watching those 3 press. I couldn't believe what I was seeing from Vlahovic, from Coop Miners, from Nico Gonzalez, and it's crazy. Like it's pretty ironic the fact that Juventus got themselves back into a game from deploying the high press. They were fortunate. Manchester City made a mistake. They pounced. They went and scored. But we never ever saw this once again. I couldn't believe how easy it was for Manchester City to play out of the back. When Manchester City got into those dangerous areas in midfield, no pressure was applied. Like, Vlahovic was walking the entire game. Coop Miners twice got beat. He's not tracking his run. Fair enough. The second one, he actually was tracking his run. The second one, I believe it was for the Erland Haaland goal. He's tracking his run. But there's just no physicality, man. I'll be real, like, there's just no power. There's just no strength. There's no acceleration. There's no running speed. And don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. You don't have to be the fastest of midfielders or the fastest of defenders to stop that Manchester City goal. You don't. You don't have to be. You just have to be locked in. You have to be locked in. Like, how many times do we sit down and say some of the best teams that we've ever seen across the world? Like, for example, let's use Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, yeah, from a few decades ago. They dominated football. They dominated Spanish football. They literally had a high line which was parked on the halfway line. They had slow defenders in Piqué and Carlos Puyol. But how? They didn't concede goals like this because these players were always locked in. Right place, right time. They sniffed an opportunity. And don't get me wrong, Koop Miners is an attacking player, so I don't expect him to have the acumen of a defender. But even me, sat at home watching it, I was like, there's only one place this pass is going. There's only one place. The thing that I couldn't believe is as he's running, he turned around like in hope. Koop Miners, for me, I don't care about the goal, I'll be honest with you guys. Very similar to how I don't care about the Vlahovic goal. Both of them were shocking. Nico Gonzalez, if I get started, I'll be here till tomorrow morning. That whole trio needs to be moved on. That whole trio needs to be moved on. That trio is not good enough to be on the bench. That's a trio that even last season, by the way, let's just put it out there, okay? Even last season, when, like, in case some might say, oh, it's the Club World Cup, who cares? Even last season, when it was the Serie A, when it was the Champions League, when it was the Coppa Italia against Empoli, those games, which are far more important to a lot of people, Koop Miners, Vlahovic, and Nico Gonzalez showed they can't be relied upon. They showed it. The sample size is big. The sample size is big. It's not as if it's like being... Like, for example, let's say it was Adzik, yeah, who came on towards the end, and he wasn't good. You guys could always turn around and be like, Haj, like, it's just been one game. Like, the sample size is small. If we see it for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 games, you can turn around and say unreliable, untrustworthy, a liability on the pitch. These three have been liabilities. They've been liabilities. And that's why when I saw them starting, one little part of me was like, you know what? I'm actually curious to see what you guys are going to do. Like, I'm curious. Because you send a massive statement to the coach if you can do it against a Manchester City team in comparison to doing it against El Ain or against Wydad Casablanca, with all due respect. Once again, it's a statement when you do it against arguably one of the best teams in Europe. And I was like, you know what? Every single one of you guys, some of you have still got contracts. Well, all three of you have still got contracts at Juventus. This is your mission. This is your audition. You've seen how well Kolo Muani's doing. You've seen how well Conceição is doing. You've seen how well Kenan Yildiz is doing. You can see Juventus are currently linked with Jonathan David. They're looking to bring in a new striker. This is your opportunity to let Tudor know, to let Damien Comolli know, to let people know what you are. And I feel all three of them were shocking. Now, let's just get onto the defense. The defense, at the start, I feel like a month ago, I must have made a video. And I said, in my opinion, it was being reported that Tudor is going to be granted 4 signings. Okay, he's going to be granted 4 signings. Now, the one thing that was a guarantee was Juventus were looking for, I believe, if I remember correctly, a striker, an attacker, and a centre-back. And then the 4th one is up to you, whichever one you may need. I remember at the time, and this was a month ago, this was before the Club World Cup even started, I came out and I said, they need a striker, they need an attacking player, and they need 2 centre-backs. Not 1, 2 centre-backs. And when I say 2, I don't mean one that starts and one that sits on the bench and peels oranges. No. 2 that start alongside Bremer. I said it at the time. Kelly, I'll be honest with you guys, like, I don't really want to make it sound like every video I speak about Kelly, but we all share the same opinion on the dude. He ain't good. Like, there was one goal, I think it was the 4th goal or the 3rd goal. Don't even get me started. Kelly is not good. Kelly is not good enough to even be backup, okay? Kalulu is good, but in my opinion, to be backup. Kalulu for me is good. Supercoppa, Coppa Italia, the odd game here and there. Kalulu, don't get me wrong, he had a very, very, very good campaign. But I feel like the reason why in so many people's eyes he's good is because of the amount of money that he costs. Like, I'll be honest with you guys, is he a £15 million player? No, he's not. Kalulu's not a £15 million player. When you look at his performances on the pitch, he's worth more than 15 million. He's a bargain. For the amount of money that Juventus paid Milan, he's a bargain. But just because he's a bargain doesn't mean he's good. And the thing about Kalulu for me, I feel like he's always in the wrong place at the wrong time. For me, Kalulu is a very reactive defender, okay? Very, very, very reactive. Like, I look at centre-halves, you could be passive or you could be aggressive, okay? You could be reactive or you could be proactive. Somebody that can sniff the opportunity. Somebody that can take something out before it even materializes into something. Kalulu is a very reactive centre-half, okay? Kalulu is the type where when he sees the fire and he sees the building burning, that's when he'll get you the fire extinguisher. But he sat in his office and he can smell smoke. He can smell the fire. He can smell something burning. He'd sit down. He wouldn't do anything until he sees the fire. That's when he goes and he gets the fire extinguisher. But it might be too late. And I was actually watching him the whole game and I was like, you're always late to the party. And I'll be honest with you guys, this has nothing to do with his own goal. So please don't think I'm speaking about Kalulu strictly because he scored an own goal. That's unfortunate. That happens. It's not the end of the world. I'm more talking about his overall positioning. It was poor. Like, I'll be honest, as wild as it may sound, like, Savona was the only one that I could say could leave with his head held high. Like, bearing in mind, he's a defender that conceded 5 goals. Di Gregorio, once again, like, he's just growing game after game after game. Everyone else. And I'll be honest with you guys, like, yes, Juventus have made it through. They've made it far more difficult for themselves. But I feel like this is a performance. Comolli, Tudor, Elkan, they need to be sat watching it. And they need to tell themselves, the Serie A season starts in a month or two. Like, if those are your squad players, you are in trouble. You really, really, really are. Because you can't rely on Kenan Yildiz every single week. You can't rely on Colomwani every single week. You need to have players. If they were injured, suspended, or if you wanted to give them a rest, the players that step up. They might not be replicas, but they're still players that can show you their own unique skill set. I didn't see no unique skill set from any replacement for Kefram Turam today. For any replacement of Colomwani. For any replacement of Kenan Yildiz. I didn't see that unique skill set. I just saw players that were detrimental. And that's just me being completely honest with you guys, okay? And, like, the icing on the cake. Did anybody realize how, like, the level of technical ability, the level of physicality went up 50 levels as soon as Turam, Yildiz and Cambiasso came on? Am I the only one that felt it? Literally, within the first minute, they come on, Yildiz, he drops one Manchester City defender, he carries, Turam carries, Cambiasso puts in a dangerous cross. All it took was 3 players. All it took was 3 players to come onto the pitch and the overall ceiling went up. You can't go into the Serie A next season just looking at those 3 players and those 3 players only. No, you need to have a squad. You need to have a squad. Like, don't get me wrong. Some clubs are fortunate. They could have 11 players of that quality and then they can have 5 on the bench. I understand. Serie A teams don't really have that money. But you could definitely have more than 3. You could have yourself 4 because 4 is better than 3. 5 is better than 4. 6 is better than 5. 7 is better than 6. Do you see where I'm coming from? With Juventus at the moment, I'll be honest with you guys, like, Di Gregorio, Bremer, Turam, Locatelli, Yildiz, Kolo Muani, that's 6 players for me that I look at. Everybody else in all the other areas, did I mention Cambiasso? Maybe I did. They need to improve. If it's not the starting 11, they need to improve the bench. Football is a squad game. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys made of that game in the comments. And I will catch you guys on another one.